Not nearly as serious, but a little creepy. My neighbor is an old lady. She comes outside every once in a while to chat with passerbys and garden. The first conversation she had with my dad, she complimented the painting he has hanging in his bedroom. No big deal. She probably saw us moving it in, or glimpsed it at some point before we got curtains. But then she meets our dog and says, well, he's much scarier through the window, isn't he? Again, NBD. We know he has a habit of pushing aside blinds to stare outside. She comments on things like this often, asking us why we didn't walk our dog that morning or when we got a new sofa. But she's just an old lady, right? She's probably bored and outside a lot. Then she meets me. She swears she's already met me, but I had never seen her before in my life. She asks me how I like my room and tells me about the girls who had it before me. Weird, but okay. She rubbed me the wrong way, but I don't really mind. She's fairly easy to avoid, or so I thought. As I was taking the dog outside, I happened to glance over and see her staring at me through the window. She lowers the blinds when she sees that I saw her, but is peeking through them watching me. Later, I go to the kitchen and see her again watching me very intently through the window. Our blinds were slightly open to let light in. Then upstairs in my parents' room, there's a window in their bathroom. I see her again as I'm replacing the towels, watching. The more I looked for her, the more I saw. She was watching basically all the time. Not only from her window. She sits in her car and watches us from the street. She sits on her porch and watches. She slowly walks down the street and watches us, literally all hours of the day. And she does it to her other neighbors, and she did it to the people who had our house before us. Everyone knew to keep your blinds and curtains shut at all times. Otherwise, you can guarantee she watches you. It freaked me the hell out. Recently, a friend and I were swapping our favorite horror movies. We were childhood friends that grew up in the same Detroit suburb. I was thinking about an incident that had happened when I was in 2nd or 3rd grade, 30 years ago, and she says out of the blue, I don't know if you remember this, but the police started patrolling our neighborhood when we were in 2nd or 3rd grade, because when I was walking home from school, 2 men in a blue pickup truck rolled down the window next to me and said, hey girl, you need a ride home, and one tried to grab me. I took off running, tearing through yards, and I told my mom, who called the cops and walked with me to the bus stop after that. I confess that I was thinking about a time when my cousin Sean recently passed away, so he's been on my mind. Also, he was really smart, much smarter than I, and I were wandering around the neighborhood like kids did in the 80s. This blue pickup truck pulled up to us, and one of the 2 guys asked us to hop in for a ride. Sean said, no thanks, and instructed me to sneak into a neighbor's back porch, luckily unlocked, and stay down. I whispered I was afraid we would get in trouble for not asking the neighbor for permission. Not the brightest kid. I would rather die than break the rules, I guess. And Sean goes, stay here and hide. Act like we went inside, because we live here. One of the 2 guys got out of the truck and went into the yard to look for us. We laid low. About 15 minutes later, he left. I look back on it now and think, what a close call. We lived near the area of the Oakland County child killer, though in a much poorer neighbor than he targeted. And I've spent the last few nights reading about the case and thinking about that blue truck. I was on a backpacking trip on the Appalachian Trail, and my dad and I stopped at one of the many public cabins. We set our bags down and joined the campfire. It was just us and a middle-aged Asian couple. We begin talking and the sun sets, so we don't expect anyone else to come. Nevertheless, this huge guy with long silver hair sets his small pack down under the awning and joins us at the fire. He was no less than 6'8", extremely muscular, and had his hair tied back into a ponytail. Imagine a more muscular Geralt from The Witcher. We start talking and he seems very friendly. Then, my dad asks the man, so, where are you from? No response. My dad repeats the question, thinking the guy didn't hear him. No response. The Asian guy asks the question, and suddenly, the big guy explodes yelling, I don't know! I don't fucking know! He, then, takes out a huge Bowie knife and a whetstone, and starts sharpening it. All of us decide to pack our stuff and book it to the next cabin, which was about 7 miles away. It was a walk, but we eventually made it there, and there was a dirty hippie dude already there. He stunk like hell, but was harmless. We stop at the campfire, hang out for a bit. Then I see a reflection out of the corner of my eye. I turn around and see the big, silver-haired guy standing in the tree line, spying on us. At that moment, I nearly shat my pants, because there was no way all of us could take this guy on. He was built like a WWE wrestler, and we were all under 6'. I let the other people know, and the Asian guy took out a revolver and told the man to go the fuck off. Big guy stands there for a moment and silently walks off into the woods without making any sound. After that incident, we agreed to have someone keep watch. Since the Asian guy had a gun, he volunteered while we slept. In the morning, I was so glad big guy didn't come back because Asian man fell asleep. That shit still gives me chills.